Clayton Cosgrove.
Mr Chairman, one of the ways you measure recovery is by looking at the numbers of people who are settling claims. Now, I'll concede one thing to Nicky Wagner's speech, although after that I have to say I've got a bit of sympathy for Jerry Brownlee having to work with it. But the Skirt is going well. I think Skirt is quite an outstanding example of community engagement, communication, despite Sarah's transience. I think it's a good example. Pity the Minister didn't follow with his own department the same pattern. Now, Mr Brownlee's fond of making statements, and he's claimed from time to time, of course, that in fact, I'll read your quote, only a small fraction of outstanding claims are in dispute, and there are a range of appropriate channels to deal with complex or disputed insurance claims. Well, one of them's the court, and we propose, and we will implement in government, an earthquake court, a division of the district court, lean, mean, fighting machine to get claims through. And Mr Brownlee's response to that was to say, well, basically, he believes that the lawyers will have a field day at the taxpayer's expense. That's what he said. Well, the point I'd make to Mr Brownlee is, what about the insurers having a field day at the claimant's expense, which has been going on for 4 years? And if the insurance industry that he is very fond of, sucks up to, puts his arms around, is doing such a great job, then why is it that there are 44% claims, 44% only claims settled? And that's on their own website. There are 10,000 outstanding claims. The census tell us there are 2.5 people on average per household. There's the size of Timaru, 25,000 families, households in dispute, still not settled their claims with those wonderful people from the insurance industry for nearly 4 years down the track. So we say it's time to do something about it. What we shouldn't keep hearing from this government is how well these guys are doing, because every insurance company in this country has let down their claimant. Every insurance company in this country is in breach of their contract because insurance policies say that claims should be settled in a reasonable time. Not a year later, not 4 years later. Now, Mr Brownlee's answer is his department says it's all okay, no problem. There's plenty of a bit of advisory service here, and if you've got enough money, above all the other things you're grappling with, you can toddle off to court. He also says that, of course, most claims don't get to court. Well, that's true, because people can't afford to go to court, and in another 2 years, the Limitation Act says that they lose all their rights if they're still in dispute with the insurer if they haven't lodged a court case. So Mr Brownlee doesn't connect the dots. He says very few cases end up in court. That is correct, but they don't end up in court because people cannot afford the means to get there. So what's their alternative? Bit of dispute resolution, bit of mediation. Sit there and wait 4 years later. We say we'll set up the earthquake court, the Crown will hit the bill and then pass it on to EQC and the insurance industry. There'll be compensation payments to the claimants if the insurance companies delay. And Mr Brownlee, I'm sure, will get up and say, we don't need more lawyers, we need more plumbers, we need more sparkies, we need more carpenters working on these houses. And he's right, but the only way you get more plumbers and sparkies and carpenters is if the people have the money from their insurance claim and EQC to then rebuild or build their houses and employ those sparkies and carpenters and plumbers. If they can't get the money out of EQC and they can't get the money out of their insurance company and they can't afford to go to court of their own volition, and under our policy it won't cost them a dime, then how on earth does this minister expect, what are the other appropriate avenues for people, as he says, to actually get ahead, get their claims sorted and get it done and dusted? The truth is, there are none, Mr Brownlee. There are none. And all we hear from this minister, he says that his officials, EQC officials and the insurance industry are working tirelessly, said on the 31st of August last year, are working tirelessly to get these claimants settled. Well, here's the problem. 44%, that's it. 10,000 outstanding big claims, not to mention some of the other ones. Then we have the privacy breaches, the obfuscation by EQC, the lack of information, the inconsistent information, and people's cell language. So I say to Mr Brownlee, let's hear his solution for the person who has no money, who the advisory service can't do a lot for, who cannot go to court and has nowhere to go to get their insurance or EQC payments.
Mr Speaker.
I call the Honourable Minister Jerry Brown.
Well, Mr Speaker, this afternoon the House has been regaled with a number of